It was a normal Monday night in the cold month of February. White light shined brightly through the windows, and silence filled my house. The humming of the heater was the only thing I heard as I rubbed my eyes and stared at the blank screen. I plugged in my headphones and prepared for the long night ahead of me. I had hoped and prayed that this week would be relaxing, but it was the complete opposite. I had to write a paper and study for so many tests. The last thing I remembered was my clock reading 1:30 a.m. before I had crashed into bed. An integer is a number found on a number line, I thought, as I slept for the remaining 5 hours I could. The next morning, I dragged my feet through the school hallways, desperate to get through the day. Stay awake, stay awake, stay awake, I told myself, knowing that for the next few days I would have to stay up late. I dreamed of my comfy bed that was awaiting my arrival, but my thoughts were interrupted by the test placed in front of me. The first question asked, "What is an integer?" I completely froze. I knew the answer was somewhere in my head and I needed to dig deeper into my memory. I looked around the classroom searching for answers, but the ticking of the clock was the only thing I heard in my head. Eventually, I found my answer, but it cost me several minutes that could have been used to finish the test. Although it had seemed logical to stay up late to study, I never realized the consequences I would face. My lack of sleep could have severely impeded my academic performance. I was lucky to remember the answer. But what would have happened if I had not slept for days? Good morning. My name is Adithi Yellamelli, and today I am going to talk about the importance of sleep and how we can prioritize it. Teens stay up late for many reasons, but there are certain limits one should follow. Teens should prioritize sleep because sufficient sleep can help young people achieve better physical health and better academic success. Sleep can often be considered a luxury. In our minds, exercise and nutrition has always seemed to outweigh the importance of sleep. No matter how many times we are reminded by our doctors, we constantly forget to get a good night's sleep. The consequences I would have to pay after that stressful week was something I would never forget. We've all had those times where it's 1 in the morning and we're so caught up in this episode that we just can't go to sleep without finding out what happens next. But it is also decisions like these that can affect your physical health. Research published by Harvard's Division of Sleep Medicine finds major restorative functions in the body, such as tissue repair, muscle growth, and protein synthesis, occur almost exclusively during sleep. This shows how important sleep is to our bodies. Our bodies constantly work to repair themselves so we can both grow physically and mentally. When the amount of time we sleep is cut short, it can alter our appetite, metabolism, and stress. In addition to the physical problems the lack of sleep can cause, it can also affect one mentally. Insufficient sleep leads to the moody, irritated version of yourself. The way you deal with stress changes, and this can also take a significant toll on your life. You will become more susceptible to sleep disorders, and this can lead to depression and anxiety. By the end of that week, I had become so sick it had felt like the wind had gotten knocked out of me. My head ached and I was so tired I couldn't do the rest of my work. After reflecting on my week, I realized I needed to change my routine. It is fine to stay up late, but there should be a limit to how late, because as we lose sleep, we weaken our bodies. Another way sleep can benefit students is by improving our academic success. When we first entered school, we came in with a priority to do well and prepare for the lives ahead of us. It wasn't always our main goal, but it was something we kept in mind as we grew older. I used to feel like that 100% on a test was everything. I would stay up late until I grasped every single concept. But even after those long hours, I still scored lower than I thought. In my research, I found out why this method was not successful. According to Dr. Lawrence Epstein at the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, recent studies have shown that adequate sleep is essential to feeling awake and alert, maintaining good health, and working at peak performance. After 2 weeks of sleeping 6 hours or less, students feel as bad and perform as poorly as someone who has gone without sleep for 48 hours. Although I had been studying more, the small amounts of sleep I had received were the sources of my mistakes. In the early hours of a day, a student is barely awake, and we are not aware of the things around us. Our minds tend to glitch, or as we know it, space out. Parts of the brain go to sleep, and we miss the things around us, or the lessons being taught. I realized the relationship between my sleep and my scores, and over time, I have learned to focus on my understanding instead of memorization. It helped reduce the number of days I stayed up late, and it even resulted in better test scores. Students work very hard to manage their tight schedules every day, but there are certain factors we cannot change. I learned to silence my phone and limit myself to how much time I spend on my phone. It is our responsibility to take care of ourselves, and sometimes we cannot stop the need to stay up late. But there are certain things we can do to make sure we are healthy. This can include taking short naps, waking up at the same time throughout the week, and exercising. It is important to be aware of what you can do to prevent harm to your body. Often, it can be something as simple as sleeping 8 hours. Waking up early on the weekend may not be everyone's cup of tea, and although it is beneficial, it is up to you to decide how you want to live. There is nothing more important than your health, and I hope that this TED Talk has provided more insight into how you can live a healthy and successful life.